up, everyone? Welcome into Duval Daily. I'm Jack McFaul. Hope everyone's having a good one as your Jacksonville Jaguars win a nail biter in Arizona. The Cardiac Cats do it again and win it in overtime on the West Coast. And move to 3-0 in games out on the West Coast, 7-4 in total, and more importantly now are a single game out of first with two games still to be played against the Colts. I feel like the Jaguars kind of tend to play down to their opponents sometimes when they play teams that aren't as talented or don't have as good of a record. And I think Sunday was a good example of that. I feel like one of those classic Jaguar games where they look like they're trying to lose the entire game. And in the past, they would have lost. I think this is another statement by Liam Cohen and the staff that shows they're able to overcome this adversity, which is needed, obviously, if they want to make a run. And there was definitely a lot of adversity in this game against Arizona. So, yeah, thank you all for being here. And let's get into some of the specifics that went into this very important win this past Sunday. Now, this is kind of a weird week when looking directly at the offense because I don't feel like they did anything in particular that well, or if you look statistically, Travis Etienne had a good game, but if you take away that one 45-yard run, he averaged under three a carry. So you can't really point to the run game in a positive. And, usually when you score 27 points, regardless of who your opponent is, you did something well, you did something right. And of course, things did go well for the Jaguars at times, but yeah, it's hard to point to an exact level that played exceptionally well on Sunday. So I think this week it'll probably be easier to just highlight certain players and the contributions they made rather than addressing the groups or the operations as a whole. So first of all, Brent Strange being back was obviously massive in this game, and it's going to be massive for the rest of the season. He had 93 yards in his game back after over a month, right? I think it was about a month. He's such a difference maker for the offense in both the run and pass game. He's such a great run blocker. He catches everything. He's fast enough. He's physical. Like, he's a all around a really great player, and it's kind of crazy to think of how important of a piece he is for this team when you look at where his career started. He was drafted. I mean, he was drafted in the second round, but I think it was kind of seen as a reach, and he was backing up Evan Ingram, and now he's obviously the starting tight end and a massive player and a much needed chess piece for Cohen and the entire offensive operation to move him around and utilize him with that skill set he has. I think Jacoby Myers and Parker Washington both had very solid games. They both made some big plays in key moments. Parker had the big pickup at the start of overtime as well as the touchdown. And Myers had his first touchdown as a Jag, which was awesome to see. I think he seemed pretty relieved about it. I think as fans, we were all pretty relieved about it. Uh, I think, when we traded for Jacoby Myers, I think us fans and obviously the staff knew what he was going to be. Right? He was going to be a good, reliable receiver with good hands. He's a good route runner. But the Parker Washington story is a story that seems to get better every week. Every game he's making big plays, whether it be on offense or special teams. He's really become, I mean, one of the best punt returners in the NFL, and that's not crazy to say. He had that terrifying return on Sunday, which we'll get into a little bit later. But yeah, especially with the injuries that this team has had at the skill positions, as well as the poor play with some guys like De'Ami Brown, who has, I mean, completely lost his job at this point. I think he ran one route against Arizona, which is crazy. I mean, he's completely a non-factor now. So Washington's had to step it up, and he has in a pretty big way, and it's been great to watch. He's going to need to keep doing it. Even, I mean, hopefully the Jags get Brian Thomas back. Parker Washington would be that third receiver. He's still going to get targets, and he should. He's got to keep that up, and I'm pretty confident he will. Now we have to talk about Trevor Lawrence. Four turnovers, one of them resulting in the touchdown at the start of the game. It's kind of become the Trevor Lawrence experience, if you will, where he one drive will look excellent. They'll drive down the field. He's decisive. He's surgical. He plays great, and then the next drive he'll make decisions that are, completely inexplicable. And look, I think two of the turnovers in that game you can't really pin on him. I think the fumble was a complete blown assignment on that right side of the line. I think it was LaQuint Allen, although I might be wrong. Don't quote me on that, but completely missed an assignment, and it was like a free rusher. And obviously, as the quarterback, you don't expect that, and you can't really. I mean, you can't really put it on him. I understand that you want him to sense that pressure, but he was about to throw it. If there was even a little chip on that guy, that doesn't happen. So I don't want to throw that on him. And the goal line interception that was intended for Jacoby Myers, you can't really put on him. It was tipped by Calais Campbell, who's 10 feet tall. So that's another one. I mean, it's brutal for it to happen then. Awful, but you can't really put that on the quarterback, I don't think, in my opinion. But the other two were pretty terrible reads. They're on him. Buda Baker made an incredible play on the last pick, the fourth turnover, but Trevor has to be better. He just has to. He's made plenty of great plays and led plenty of great drives, especially in critical moments this season and in his career. But the dumb interceptions, the dumb reads have to stop, obviously. It's been an issue his entire career. It's got to get cleaned up. It's kind of, getting to that point where it's like, is it gonna get better? Uh, it's interesting. He's been a completely different quarterback when the Jags are down in games or tied. In those situations where they're down or tied, he has 11 touchdowns and two picks. So it's interesting. He's been very, very good in those close games. Um, but when they're winning, he's been a completely different player, and I don't know why that is. It's I don't know. It's that inconsistency that has hurt them, and hopefully, I mean, they play Tennessee, who it doesn't have much going for them on either side of the ball. So hopefully that game he can maybe start to figure it out. I mean, I hate saying that this far into the season about figuring it out, but it's a lot. I mean, it is a lot. So he's got to get that sorted out. Again, he's made plays. I'm not concerned necessarily about it. I kind of am with the turnovers, but I'm still confident. Let's put it that way. I'm still confident that he's gonna pick that up, be better with that, hopefully help the team make a run, and it'll all be forgiven. Now, looking at the defense, I think they overall played a pretty great game. They forced, or excuse me, they were forced into some pretty tough downs and distances because of the turnovers in a lot of situations, but I don't think there's much negative really to go into with the defense. Brissett was pretty consistent, but we all knew that was going to be the case going into the game. That's just who he is. Michael Wilson and Trey McBride made some pretty big plays, but again, that was known that was going to happen going into the game. And I think in that area, the defense had kind of like it kind of was like a bend don't break outcome where. I mean, those two had 19 receptions in between the two of them, which is a lot. And on paper, that does not look great. And it really wasn't the best, but they did enough to contain them and win. So I don't want to harp on it too much. Guys like, I mean, Jarian Jones has stepped in and been very good. Buster Brown has become a really good player. I don't think anyone expected that going into the season, saying on November 23rd that Buster Brown would be the team's best corner. But here we are. But it's been awesome to see with him. They made some plays, and that's all you can ask for. The real MVP of this game, I think, on either side of the ball was the pass rush. 6 sacks and 11 TFLs in this one, which was so important going into the game. Obviously, it's important going into every game, but this game, especially with how good Jacoby Brissett can be when he's able to just like sit in the pocket and pick apart the defense. They finally looked alive the past 2 weeks, and they did it without Trayvon Walker against the Cardinals and some of the Chiefs, or not Chiefs, excuse me, Chargers game, which is even more encouraging because they're getting production out of guys um, that are not the top two rushers, and that's been lacking for years at this point. They have not had that production with a third or fourth edge rusher in years. Josh Hines Allen now has a sack in three of the last four, and he's really just been so good the last like month or so. Um, he had 11 pressures on Sunday and really lived in the backfield and kind of lived in Brissett's lap from the first snap to the last. He's really turned up, like I said, the past like month or so, and it's come at a great time. Um, I discussed last week how BJ Green and Danny Strigo were active over Emmanuel Agba and how they were guys that could be massive down the stretch. And again, this week, Strigo specifically just seems to find his way into the backfield. He had, I think it was three pressures and made some really nice plays in the run game, which, by the way, the Cardinals only averaged 2.8 a carry. So that run defense continues to be stout. But yeah, Strigo's slowly but surely becoming a pretty impactful player, and it could be paramount down the stretch with Trayvon being banged up, and even if he is healthy, obviously good teams, good defenses have multiple edge rushers and that depth that can come in when the top guys are, catching their breath and the pass rush doesn't lose a step, or if it does, it's not so obvious like it's been with the Jags. So hopefully he continues to grow. Same with BJ Green. Eric Armstead isn't an edge rusher, but he's been so good this year. I don't think that's been talked about enough. He has, I think it's 5.5 sacks. He had seven pressures in this one. Last year he didn't put up the numbers and he wasn't used the right way. But this year, he's playing his natural position and he's been awesome. So that's been great to see. Hopefully that pass rush can keep that up. Now, finally, the special teams. Uh, is up, and that's something that I had nothing to talk about last week with after no punts and no field goals. But this week the specialists actually had jobs to do. Cam Little after the bye has been phenomenal. He's been back to normal. He had the two big field goals, the one from 52. Um, but the big special teams play that I think everyone expected was that Parker Washington return where he ran to the end zone. He picked the ball up at what, like the three and ran it to the end zone and gave everyone like a simultaneous heart attack. That was awful. That was terrifying. The refs even signaled safety, which it was scary. And if you ask me, maybe a little embarrassing for the NFL that the refs don't even know the rules that to the game that they're officiating. But I mean, I guess it is what it is. But yeah, after the game, Parker was interviewed and he called it a no cost return. And I think that really speaks to the staff and the preparation that has been installed and that they go through every week to know rules like that, um, and be heads up and be ready for it when it happens. Because and I'm sure most fans would be lying if they said they knew that rule when the play happened. I mean, I was freaking out. I'm sure everyone else was. So yeah, I mean, that's another thing with the staff that I think is just different from years past. They're just the players know the rules, and that sounds like such a little thing and such like an obvious thing that every team has, but it's not, it's not. And it was such a little play, like it didn't matter, but at least to me that return where he picked the ball up and went backwards, which is what it is, but it does speak levels to that. It really does. So yeah, big win. Obviously happy. Tennessee on deck. They don't have much going for them. The Jags need a win, so it comes at a good time. Like I said before, they seem to downplay sometimes to their opponents, so let's hope that's not the case. I guess we'll see. They need to win that. Next month or so is going to be so fun, not only obviously around the league, but especially in the AFC South with the way it's shaping up. The Jags have 6 games left. Four of them are against division opponents, so they need to keep pushing, obviously. The two against the Colts. Hopefully they can get healthier. And if all things go right, hopefully they can, make a little run at this thing. That would be awesome. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Enjoy the victory week. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I hope everyone has a great time with family. It's such a special time of the year. Yeah, and thank you. Go Jags.